Stage 2 of the Giro D'Italia took the riders to a mythical, legendary finish at Oropa. A 7th time finishing up at the top and starting down on an old velodrome. San Francesco al Campo was the venue for the sign-in. Geraint Thomas waving to the crowd as his teammate Jonathan Narvaez began the day in the pink jersey. Just over 160 kilometres to take on. The first half of the stage completely flat, and then the fun would begin. 3 classified climbs, and now 3 sprints, including the Intergiro, a maximum of 16 bonus seconds on offer, and that final climb, a tough one, almost 12 kilometres long, leaving Biella and heading up to the Santuario di Oropa, where Marco Pantani had made that famous move in 1999, dancing past almost 50 riders to win after a mechanical. After the flag was raised, it was a very, very entertaining start. A couple of groups got away. In the end, it would be 5 riders. A 5-star Italian break. Fiorelli wearing the Ciclamino jersey. Marcelluzzi, his teammate. Bice, a former stage winner. With Piccolo, the best on the GC at 1:07. Scaroni there as well. 2 minutes 15 for Astana. Behind, there'd be a wait to see who would control. And then it would be the Ineos Grenadiers. Pogačar, in the meantime, content to have a chat with Gaviria and company. And with just under 100 kilometres to go, the gap will be at its maximum, just over 4 minutes. At the first of the sprints, points behind for the sprinters were mopped up by Caden Groves. The gap just under 2.5 minutes when there was a crash. Eddie Dunbar was involved, Conchi as well, Zana, his teammate, as well as the Grand Tour debutant Olav Koy. Intergiro time, and points again to be mopped up behind. Caleb Ewan looking absolutely brilliant up the hill. At the front of the race, just over 50 kilometres to go, and Andrea Piccolo was going it alone. EF Education Easy Post, a recent history of going away with riders to take long-range break wins, but it was a big ask today. The 4 behind continued to challenge, but they'd slowly drift away as the classified climbs arrived. Just over 2 minutes to gap with just under 30 Ks to go. And the numbers behind fading as well. Scaroni and Marcelluzzi best of the rest. Piccolo, the last remaining survivor of the day at the front. Just under 2 minutes to gap over the penultimate climb of the day, but the hardest ascent was still to come. In the peloton, still controlled by the Ineos Grenadiers, Marcelluzzi and Scaroni would be caught. And then a disaster for Tadej Pogačar, or it could have been. He went down, he was okay, all that caused by a front wheel puncture, but with 11 kilometres to go, a bonus sprint happening up the road and Geraint Thomas taking 2 seconds, Pogačar was off the back. There would be no panic from Pog. And with all the history a quarter of a century before, and all the talk from the Italian fans in particular about Marco Pantani, a mechanical at the bottom for the climbing star, it wasn't as dramatic as that. His team brought him back to the front. Piccolo would be caught finally after a very valiant ride, and 6.5 kilometres remain as his team really got to work. UAE Emirates were looking mightily strong once again. 4.5 kilometres remained, hardest section out the way, and Pogačar zoomed off the front. O'Connor and Thomas were the first to try and hang on, but Pogačar would get a gap. O'Connor would start to fade. Other riders would make a recovery, but again there'd be problems for the likes of Bardet, Plapp and Arensman, proving it would not be just a one-day problem. The Maglia Rosa had also been distanced by this point. We were going to have a change of leader, but soon it'd be crisis for O'Connor. Just under 2 Ks remained when he went backwards, and Narvaez knew by this point he was not going to keep the race lead. It had been a big ask for him anyway, and Tadej Pogačar turning up to the Giro D'Italia, having his own Oropa moment, pulling on the Maglia Rosa and winning a stage. Amongst all of the accomplishments, he'd be there to complete the Grand Tour trio of stage wins at each of the big races, but more importantly, the most flamboyant rider in the world, coming to the most beautiful race on the planet and pulling on the most aesthetic of the leaders' jerseys out there. Pogačar winning, Martinez second, Thomas third. Bonus seconds for those two, but a control and race lead for Tadej Pogačar. Narvaez crossing the line, just over 2 minutes down. A stage win and a big moment for him, but a huge moment for Pogačar, who on stage 2 takes the lead and control in the Giro D'Italia. Delight for him and his team. It all went to plan on day 2. Pogačar 27 seconds in front of Martinez and Thomas. Fortunato, Lipovic, Storer, Uijtenbrooks, Rubio, Lopez and Hirt in the top 10. Pogačar in pink. Celebration for him. A first maglia rosa of his career. At the new general classification with Thomas up to second and Martinez also at 45 seconds. Coming up, a day surely for the sprinters, leaving Novara and heading just over 160 kilometres again, finishing on the flat, but with a couple of twists and turns towards the end. For the King of the Mountains classification, that won't change. Pogačar, by the way, is also in control of that competition, just one fourth category on the way. There's an aperitivo at Cinzano, a sprint in Cherasco, and a finish later on at Fossano. Stage 3 of the Giro d'Italia, live on Eurosport and Discovery+.